Devon Carter stands frozen beside his overturned sedan, hands raised high as two white officers scream with guns aimed, their flashlights searing his eyes in the Texas desert night. Blood drips from his temple where a baton split his skin, but he remains composed. "You're digging your own graves," Devon states calmly. Officer Victor Hensley spits a vile slur, cocking his pistol while his partner wavers. Devon's lips curve slightly. "You have no idea who I am." Headlights flare in the distance, promising either salvation or doom. 12 hours before chaos erupted in the Texas desert, Staff Sergeant Devon Carter was driving home after a grueling 16-hour shift at El Paso Memorial Hospital. His silver sedan cut through the sun-baked outskirts, the skies turning purple as dusk settled over the distant mesas. At 36, Devon carried himself with the quiet dignity earned through 3 tours in Afghanistan as a combat medic with the Army's 68 W Medical Battalion. His broad shoulders filled out his blue scrubs beneath a light jacket that concealed the scars from shrapnel that once tore through his left side, while he dragged a wounded Marine to safety under heavy fire. The Silver Star Medal and 2 Purple Hearts sat in a display case at home, recognition for saving 14 soldiers during an ambush outside Kandahar. That day had earned him the nickname Lazarus, among troops for his ability to bring back the nearly dead. Now 6 months into civilian life, Devon had traded battlefield medicine for the trauma ward, where his steady hands and quick thinking had already earned him respect among hospital staff. Tonight, though, he was just a man eager to reach his modest ranch-style home where his wife Tanya and 7-year-old son Marcus waited. He'd promised Marcus a fishing trip this weekend, their first since Devon's return. The thought brought a rare smile to his face as he adjusted the air conditioning, keeping the sedan steady at exactly 55 miles per hour. Even after years in combat zones, Devon never took chances with simple rules, especially not on Texas highways, where he'd been pulled over 3 times in the past year despite flawless driving. The road stretched empty before him, and Devon allowed himself to imagine 2 peaceful days ahead at Lake Hueco with his family. The sudden flash of blue and red light stabbed through Devon's rearview mirror, punching a hole in his peaceful drive. His gut tightened as he checked the speedometer, steady at 55 in a 55 zone. Everything about his car and driving was regulation perfect, the military precision he carried into civilian life. "Not again," he muttered, easing onto the shoulder with textbook precision, tires crunching over gravel. This would be the 4th stop in under a year since returning stateside, always for routine checks that somehow only applied to his vehicle. Devon placed his hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel, visible and still, a protocol not taught by driving instructors, but by fellow black veterans who'd returned home to find different battlefields. The cruiser door slammed, and Officer Victor Hensley appeared in the mirror, tall, with a sunburned neck rising above his blue uniform and a swagger that broadcasted small-town authority. "License and registration, boy," Hensley barked, not bothered with professional courtesy of an explanation or even a flashlight check. The last word landed like a slap. Despite the insult burning in his ears, Devon kept his voice military calm. "May I ask why I'm being pulled over, officer?" Hensley leaned closer, tobacco breath fouling the air. "You people always think you're above the law, don't you?" His fist slammed the sedan's hood, leaving a dent the size of a grapefruit. "I said documents, now." Devon slowly reached for his wallet, maintaining visibility as he'd learned through bitter experience. He extracted his driver's license and VA medical ID, which noted his military status. "I'm a combat medic, sir. Recently returned from Afghanistan. My registration is in the glove compartment." Hensley snatched the license, barely glancing at it before flicking it into the dirt. "Combat medic? Sure. And I'm the Secretary of Defense." He laughed sharply. "Step out of the vehicle now." Devon recognized the dangerous escalation but remained calm, his mind calculating options just as he'd done under mortar fire. Devon stepped out slowly, hands slightly raised, his 6 feet 2 inches frame unfolding with deliberate control. His surgical scrubs were visible beneath his jacket now, still bearing the hospital logo, but Hensley's eyes narrowed with suspicion rather than recognition. "Turn around, hands on the vehicle," Hensley ordered, one hand hovering near his holster. "Sir, I've done nothing wrong." I'm just heading home from my hospital shift. Hensley shoved Devon hard against the sedan, the vehicle rocking slightly as Devon's chest met cold metal. You don't tell me what's wrong. This is my highway. Headlights approached, and a second cruiser pulled up. Officer Pete Rollins stepped out, stocky with military-style buzz cut that mocked the real service Devon had given his country. What V we got, Vic? Rollins called, sauntering over. Got a smart one. Claims he's some kind of war hero doctor. Hensley snickered, the words dripping with contempt. Devon maintained his composure, though his jaw tightened. Under his breath, he pressed the emergency call button on his specialized VA smartwatch, a device issued to veterans with his level of combat decoration, connecting directly to military support services. I've complied with every, Devon began, only to have Hensley grab his wrist, twisting it behind his back so violently that the skin broke against the handcuffs that followed. Blood trickled from beneath the steel, staining Devon's scrubs. That's resisting, Rollins declared, backing his partner's escalation with practiced ease. The cuffs bit deeper as Hensley tightened them another notch. Bet these aren't the first cuffs you've worn, huh? He whispered, close enough that only Devon could hear. Devon's military training kept his breathing steady despite the pain radiating from his wrists. 3 tours in Kandahar had taught him when to fight and when to endure. This moment required endurance. My service records and medical credentials are in my wallet, Devon stated evenly. Contact my commanding officer, Colonel Richards at Fort Bliss, or the hospital administrator, Dr. Patel. Look at him making up names. Rollins laughed, swinging his baton idly. Fort Bliss doesn't want your kind claiming to be one of them. Little did they know, Devon's watch had silently connected to Fort Bliss Military Police Dispatch, where his former battle buddy now served. Every word was being transmitted and recorded, a lifeline stretching to the desert night. 15 minutes passed with Devon leaning against the cruiser, blood drying on his wrists while Hensley and Rollins took turns mocking his military claims. They'd searched his car without permission, scattering his medical journals across the seat. The distant thrum of helicopter blades cut through the desert stillness, barely noticeable at first. Devon recognized the sound pattern instantly. UH-60 Black Hawk, approaching fast. A faint smile touched his lips. You boys hear that? Devon asked calmly. Hear what? Hensley snapped before the sound grew unmistakable. Both officers looked up as powerful spotlights suddenly flooded the scene, the helicopter descending to hover 50 feet above. This is Captain Andrew Reynolds, Military Police Fort Bliss, boomed a voice over the loudspeaker. Release Staff Sergeant Devon Carter immediately. You are interfering with military personnel and violating federal law. The spotlight fixed on Hensley's shocked face as 2 military police vehicles screeched to a halt nearby, uniformed MPs with rifles exiting in swift formation. What the hell? Rollins stammered, backing away from Devon. Hensley's face contorted with anger and disbelief as he fumbled with the handcuff keys. There's been a misunderstanding, he called toward the helicopter, his tone suddenly deferential. As the cuffs fell away, Devon straightened up, blood returning to his fingers. A tall black MP approached, saluting sharply. Staff Sergeant Carter. Colonel Richard sends his regards. Says you saved his life outside Kandahar. Never thought he'd need to return the favor stateside. Devon nodded, rubbing his raw wrists. Thank you, Sergeant. The MP turned a cold stare toward the local officers. These men will be reported to their superiors. Your vehicle is damaged. We'll arrange transport. Devon climbed into the military vehicle, his dignity intact, but his faith in local justice severely shaken. Devon declined the military hospital, insisting on returning home to his family. The MPs reluctantly agreed, providing him with a temporary vehicle while his sedan would be repaired at military expense. As he drove away, the helicopter following protectively overhead, he believed the worst was behind him. He was wrong. 3 hours later, as Devon finally pulled into his driveway, his phone exploded with notifications. A video titled "Fake Military Doctor Attacks Officers" had gone viral, showing heavily edited body cam footage. The doctor clip showed Devon appearing to lunge at Hensley, with dubbed audio threats. His military claims were painted as stolen valor, his hospital scrubs as a costume. The comment section overflowed with vitriol. Another thug claiming military service. Should have taught him respect. Stolen valor deserves jail time. Devon's fingers trembled as he called Colonel Richards. They've twisted everything, he explained, voice tight with contained fury. We've seen it, Richards replied grimly. The military police report contradicts their video entirely, but these things spread like wildfire. Stay home, lock your doors. We're handling it. But Devon knew from Afghanistan that handling it could take too long. He checked his house security system, double-bolting the door behind him. Inside, Tanya embraced him, her eyes wide with worry. The hospital called. They received threats. Some people are saying you've never worked there. Where's Marcus? Devon asked, father's instinct overriding everything else. Asleep? Thankfully. Devon, what's happening? Before he could answer, headlights swept their front window, not passing, but stopping. Multiple vehicles, engines rumbling. Devon peeked through the blinds and his combat instincts flared. 3 pickup trucks, Confederate flags fluttering from antennas, men stepping out with baseball bats, and what looked like hunting rifles. Get Marcus and go to the safe room, he instructed Tanya quietly. Call Richards again. As his family retreated to their reinforced bathroom, a precaution Devon had insisted on after receiving death threats for being one of few black doctors at El Paso Memorial, he grimly assessed his options. The night was far from over. The mob surrounded Devon's home, their shouts echoing to the neighborhood. Come out, faker. We don't want stolen valor trash here. Beer bottles shattered against the front door as Devon guided his terrified family through their home's back exit. Using the darkness as cover, his military training took over. Identify escape route, protect civilians, minimize engagement. They slipped through neighbors' yards until reaching Mrs. Guzman's house. The elderly widow had lost a son in Iraq and had always showed Devon respect that transcended the neighborhood's undercurrents of prejudice. Get inside, quickly, she whispered, ushering them through her kitchen door. As they huddled in her living room, the distant crash of breaking glass confirmed their home was being violated. I've called the police, Mrs. Guzman assured them, then paused at Devon's bitter laugh. The police started this, he explained quietly, while Marcus trembled against his mother. Devon's phone vibrated. Colonel Richards, Sheriff Department responding to disturbance. Stay clear. Conflicting jurisdictions. Translation. Local police were deliberately dragging their feet. The temporary safety shattered as sirens finally approached, not to arrest a mob, but with a different purpose. Sheriff's deputies pounded on Mrs. Guzman's door. Devon Carter, we have a warrant for your arrest on charges of assault against officers Hensley and Rollins, plus possession of controlled substances allegedly found in your vehicle. Devon's stomach dropped. They'd planted evidence. The setup was more coordinated than he'd imagined. You can't go out there, Tanya pleaded, gripping his arm. They might kill you. If I don't, they'll arrest you both as accomplices, Devon replied, kissing her forehead. Trust me, my unit won't abandon us. He straightened his shoulders, the same way he had before walking into enemy territory, with only a medical bag. This time, his battlefield was home. Devon surrendered peacefully, hands raised as deputies approached with guns drawn. The crowd cheered his arrest, their faces twisted with hatred fueled by the viral video and pre-existing prejudice. At the county jail, they confiscated his VA smartwatch, unaware it had already transmitted his GPS location to Fort Bliss. In the interrogation room, Sheriff Boone, a heavy-set man with cold eyes, slapped photos of supposed drugs from Devon's car onto the metal table. Quite an operation, Dr. Carter. Stealing painkillers from the hospital, claiming military service as cover. Those aren't mine, Devon stated calmly, and my military record is verifiable. Your military buddies can't help you now. Boone smiled. This is county jurisdiction. What Boone didn't know, Devon's former unit had already mobilized. Captain Reynolds had contacted the FBI's Civil Rights Division. Colonel Richards had reached the Pentagon's Office of Military Community Support. Devon's actual service record, including video of him receiving the Silver Star for saving 14 soldiers under fire, was being released in national media. Most crucially, 3 members of Devon's former medical unit had access to hospital security footage, showing him working his entire shift until minutes before the traffic stop, making drug theft impossible. In his cell, Devon practiced breathing techniques that steadied his hands during battlefield surgery. He knew the counterattack was coming. Not with helicopters this time, but with the full weight of military records, hospital documentation, and body cam footage recovered through military channels rather than local police servers. The truth would be his weapon and patience his shield. Dawn broke over the county jail as a commotion erupted in the hallway. Devon sat up on his cell bunk, alert to the unusual activity. Sheriff Boone's angry voice carried through the corridor. "You have no jurisdiction here. This is county business." The response came in the unmistakable, measured tone of federal authority. "Sheriff Boone, I'm Special Agent Ramirez, FBI Civil Rights Division. This warrant authorizes us to assume custody of Staff Sergeant Devon Carter and all evidence related to his arrest." Heavy doors clanged open as a team of FBI agents and Navy windbreakers appeared, accompanied by military police and a woman in a crisp suit who Devon recognized as Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Westfield, the JAG officer who processed his medical discharge. "Sergeant Carter." Westfield nodded professionally as an agent unlocked a cell. "Sorry about the accommodations." Within minutes, Devon was escorted past a fuming Sheriff Boone into a conference room where evidence boards displayed a conspiracy larger than he'd imagined. Photos showed Hensley meeting with known drug dealers near the military base. Financial records revealed Sheriff Boone receiving unexplained cash deposits.